Hey, welcome everybody. So we're going to go ahead and get started with our live now. And like I said before in the other introductions, we're going to get, this will be a chance for you to meet some of the candidates that are out there that are getting elected. And so we'll give a couple more minutes for people to jump on here with us. And I'm going to make sure I can find Claudia on here. Hi, Claudia. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Hold on. I'm not getting you very well.
Okay.
All right.
Can
How's
you
your
hear
connection
me?
now?
I guess I'll keep talking. You can
Yes.
hear me now? Beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah, I can hear you talking now.
Wonderful.
Welcome.
I'm very excited. I wanted to share with you, Zach, that this is my first live event on this platform. So I post a lot, and I have two kids in college, and they make fun of me all the time. They said, Mom, you need to get with the program. And I thought I was very modern because I'm using these, but this is my first live event on this platform. So thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, now you'll have something to show them of what you're doing.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Can you hear me? You can hear me okay?
I can hear you okay. And yes.
Okay. So welcome, Claudia Rossi. And I'll go ahead and let you start it off. Why don't you introduce yourself and tell us why you're running for District 1 Supervisor for Santa Clara County.
Absolutely. My name is Claudia Rossi. I am a chronic disease management nurse. And I'm very proud of the fact that for the last 8 years, I have been serving at the county level as a trustee on the County Board of Education. And as you know, Zach, it is the County Office of Education that offers safety net programs for our most underserved community of children, ages really K through 12. And as someone who has served at the county level, creating programs that serve our community, and also as a chronic disease management nurse, I am passionately aware of how important it is to elect to the Board of Supervisors someone who knows the intricacies of county, because as you know, county is the safety net program provider. And county has a budget of about $9 billion. And almost 60% of that budget is allotted to healthcare. The county actually runs the largest healthcare delivery system in all of Northern California. As a registered nurse and as someone who has been elected to serve my community on the county level, I feel passionately that I'm the most qualified to serve in that position.
What is Santa Clara County's single biggest challenge, and how will you mitigate it?
I think the biggest challenge right now is homelessness. And when you talk about homelessness, you're not just talking about lack of access to affordable housing. You're also talking about the wages that our community makes that don't provide for them the ability to be able to stay and maintain home ownership, or even to pay some of the rents that many of us are shocked to learn about when we first moved to California. But I also think that when you're talking about homelessness, you're also talking about mental health care issues. If a family is living in crisis, that does affect your mental health. And if a family falls into homelessness, mental health precipitously. There's also tied into some of our homelessness issues, people who are struggling with substance abuse. Because once that substance abuse is part of that family or part of the life of the individual, then keeping a job, maintaining a job is also a challenge. So if I had to think and share what is the most most pressing and urgent issue that county can address, it would definitely be homelessness. And I also want to share with you, Zach, that I've been knocking on doors for the last 13 months. And when people open the door to me, the vast majority of people share that they're very worried about our unhoused brothers and sisters. They're also very concerned about mental health issues as it relates to the young people in their lives. These last 2 years, and actually now it's longer than 2 years of an interruption in the lives of young people who connect with each other through the school system has caused a great deal of damage to their collective psyche. And so it's homelessness, it's mental health. And also, when we talk about mental health, we also have to talk about the burnout that our first responders, our frontline workers, our firefighters, our nurses, the people who are in the front lines. There is more than burnout. I think that that experience of being in the front lines of this pandemic has also caused a great deal of mental health issues for our frontline workers.
Once you're in office, what is your plan on how to interact with residents and to stay in touch with their needs?
You know, I thank you for asking, because you and I have been very active during this pandemic in making sure that we connect members of our community to information about resources. I know that we work very closely to address the digital divide that became so glaringly obvious during this pandemic. It's not a secret that you need to go as an elected to the places where families live, play, worship, and gather. Whether that means that you engage with the faith community to meet with community where they worship, or if it means that you're going to go to their favorite park to sit down and listen to their concerns, or if it means that you're going to go to a community center, or you're going to go to the neighborhoods that have affordable housing developments, you need to go to where community is, and not the other way around, quite honestly. And I'm very proud of the fact that in the 12 years that I have served as an elected, I have been honored to connect to my community wherever they are. It's always been my personal ethic to go to them and not the other way around.
So as a Gilroy City Council member, I want to thank you for all the efforts that you put towards South County. And in particular, you spent many hours in South County during the initial COVID outbreak and response. What did you learn from your experience, and how will that experience make you a better supervisor?
I learned that we really need to make sure that we are investing in the pipeline that would increase the diversity of the people who work in healthcare, mental health, and offer these safety net services. Because if the community doesn't have trust in those healthcare workers and those social workers and those first responders, then a lot of the challenges that we have become worse. And when you and I work together to address misinformation about vaccines, because we had such a strong, and we continue to nurture a strong relationship with our community, then they can trust that what we share with them is based on truth and our interest to serve them. And so an important lesson is that we really need to make sure that we are developing a system of communication so that when these disasters happen, we have a relationship that is established, that promotes trust. And the most important thing is to also listen to our community. And I'll give you an example. I received a phone call from a nurse manager working for county who reached out and said, you know, Claudia, we have vaccinations for our seniors, but they're not coming. Days have passed. We announced that our 75-year and older community members here in South County can get vaccinated, but they're not making appointments. So I asked this person, well, how are they supposed to make an appointment? And she said, well, they're supposed to go online. And so I had to ask, well, how many of our seniors are really, really using social media or these websites to make an appointment? So I immediately requested of her that she send a few of the county employees to the Gilroy Senior Center to ask the seniors who were picking up their meals if they wanted an appointment to get their vaccines. And so these employees from the county immediately listened. They were very responsive. So as the seniors were driving up to pick up their meals, a county employee who had a tablet said, well, here's your meal. Would you like a vaccine with that? And it was really amazing because in that day alone, practically all of the seniors that were picking up their meals either made an appointment for that same day or for that week. And so the important part is also not just to have the services, but to identify the barriers that keep people from accessing those services. And that senior center idea about bringing those appointment opportunities to our seniors grew because after that was so successful, the seniors said, well, my daughter would like a vaccine, or I know my neighbor wants a vaccine. So at that point, we organized so that the vaccines could be offered at the senior center in Gilroy. I'm sure I know that you visited those vaccination events. And then our amazing firefighters said, well, wait a minute, we want to help too. So they joined the effort, and you had long lines of people that were so relieved to have vaccinations offered in their community.
Why should residents vote for you as opposed to the other candidates?
I am very proud that as an RN, I chose to work for a federally qualified healthcare center, a nonprofit clinic that serves our county's most underserved communities. So you, through the years, if you ask me, what are you going to do today? Where are you going to work? You could find me under a bridge, giving care to our unhoused brothers and sisters, or a migrant camp, or at a park in San Jose in underserved communities, or all kinds of developments and neighborhoods that are underserved. And I think that experience of being in touch with the communities that most often access county services qualifies me through my experience and commitment. I am also the only candidate in this race that was elected to serve on a county-wide office. And I've been serving in that capacity for 8 years. There was a time many years ago, SAC, where the County Board of Education and the County Board of Supervisors used to hold joint meetings. And the reason for that is because there was a recognition that these two entities overlap significantly. So county employees offer services to our students, and we in turn also partner with county to serve foster youth, special needs children, low-engaged youth. And in that capacity, as a trustee and as a chronic disease management nurse, I am able to serve on day one. As much as I respect my opponents, if you look at their background, they have served at the city council level. And what the 22,000 county employees will remind you of, if you're able to talk to them, is that county is not city. City is not county. And so I think that differentiates me in a very important way from my opponents.
Why should the youth care about voting in politics, and how will you engage the youth?
I have a daughter. My daughter is a sophomore at UC Santa Cruz, and I have a son who is graduating from St. Mary's in May. And I asked them this question. I asked them, why should young people vote? And they both have said to me in their own special way that the reason a lot of young people don't vote is because they don't feel that they're heard. and they don't see an agenda that is based on their concerns. And so my daughter basically very directly said, whenever people who run for office don't engage with the youth in our community and don't listen and don't have agendas that really address their concerns, then there's no reason for them to vote. And so through my children, I know that my son and daughter are very worried that as soon as they graduate from college, they will have accrued massive student debt. So after all those years of, late nights, completing their assignments and earning their degree, they have and they will become responsible for thousands upon thousands of dollars. They are worried about student debt. They're worried about the fact that so many of their friends who didn't go to college are experiencing mental health issues. My children particularly are worried that so many kids in Gilroy, for example, don't have a community center, a space where they can gather to be with one another. And so or that so many of their friends can't afford to move out of their parents' home because they're not able to find those employment opportunities. So as long as people running for office do not engage in a very real way with our community's youth, giving them a reason to vote for us. And we haven't earned the honor of their vote, quite frankly.
Yeah, to sum that up too, I want to let you know that in one of our recent housing workshops, it was brought out that 38% of our population that lives here in Gilroy is ages 24 years or younger. And just like you talked about, that representation sometimes gets missed. So you and I worked together on closing the digital divide. Mm-hmm. After attending and hosting a town hall, we sent a letter to the CPUC. What additional solutions do you have to close the digital divide?
I think that the county of Santa Clara is very well positioned to aggressively seek federal funds because this is actually, when we talk about lack of access to internet, we are talking about lack of access to a very basic utility. And so I will aggressively seek federal funds so that we can make sure that all these communities that have been redlined, right? I mean, how do you explain the fact that there are some communities that have reliable internet services and that others don't, and that the ones that don't most often are the most underserved communities? And so what I will do, and I will plan to do this from day one, is to ensure that any federal funds that are supposed to come to our community for infrastructure, that these prioritize bringing reliable internet to our communities. You can't apply for a job without accessing the website. More and more, even accessing healthcare involves accessing the internet. Everything we do, more and more so, any community that is fighting for basic needs, we see that water is a basic necessity, electricity, gas. Well, the internet has become a basic necessity and a utility, and we need to treat it as such.
What role can the supervisor's office play in ending the revolving door of homelessness, mental health crisis, and jail?
Number one is that we need to recognize that there is oftentimes when we're talking about communities, including and especially communities like Gilroy, there is that school to prison pipeline. So let's say we have a young person that is really struggling with mental health issues. If that person and that young person is living in a poor community, that young person is often criminalized as opposed to provided with the mental health care services that they need. And so I think that addressing the pipeline to do the following, to make sure we're investing in student wellness centers so that as soon as we see that a student is struggling with any kind of mental health issue, and teachers and students all recognize when someone is struggling that way. If that first response to that young person's struggles would be to bring them into a supportive community of mental health care counselors and programs that address their issues. Imagine how strongly we would break that school to prison pipeline. I also think that we need to provide supports within the school system to assist young people who are struggling with drug abuse issues. And, you know, when you offer specialized mental health services in the school community, young people are 21 times more likely to access these services if they're offered in their school community. So one area is addressing the mental health needs of our youth. As far as homelessness, we really, at the county, and I have to applaud and celebrate that our Board of Supervisors have voted on following programs. Number one is one that brought state funding so that hotels can partner with the county to become supportive housing or transitional housing facilities. That has been very effective in bringing in and providing shelter. And that was done a lot during the pandemic. But as the pandemic followed its course, the state sent even more funding to make some of these programs more permanent. The other program that is has been very, I think, successful, and we need more of that, is we need to prevent homelessness in the first place. So in partnering with more nonprofits to identify families that are at risk of becoming homeless and giving them a subsidy so they can remain in their homes, it's easier to reclaim and assist a person or a family before they're out in the streets. And so preventive programs to keep people from becoming homeless in the first place, I think, has been demonstrated to be very, very effective. I also think that county needs to assess all its assets, its land assets, to determine what infrastructure we at the county can provide to create those spaces to address the housing, the homelessness issue. The other area that I think we need to look at, Zach, is that there are a number of districts that have faced declining enrollment, and they have had to close down schools. And where we have those opportunities where a school facility is no longer being used for school, I think that we can bring in funding so that we can convert those facilities into temporary housing for our unhoused communities. And this is something that would bring in some state funds and philanthropic funds to create, because actually we do have, when you look at school districts and county, we actually have the infrastructure to contribute to the inventory. We also need to partner with our faith community. Some of the faith community initiatives around safe parking have been very effective in helping people who are unhoused. There's also investments in prefabricated homes, tiny homes, container homes. They're smaller and they're more economical, and you're able to have communities where you bring these prefabricated smaller homes, and those go up very quickly. But they need to be placed where there are other amenities, close to public transportation. And you also need to make sure that when you're bringing in these programs, that you really bring the community and involve the community. Most people in most communities are very compassionate and they want to contribute to the solution. But when they see something spring up without prior knowledge or without taking the time to really bring the community in so you could have buy-in, there is a profound resentment that some communities feel. So you can't impose this without bringing the community into a dialogue so that these programs could succeed. You can't succeed unless the community buys into it.
Well said. So last question. We know that you're a longtime Democrat and you've received the Santa Clara County Democratic Party endorsement. Why is it important to you to receive the endorsement of the South Bay Labor Council and so many more union organizations?
Well, I want to share with you, as long as we're talking about endorsements, I am the candidate that has earned the honor of having the most endorsements from current and former county supervisors. I have been endorsed by Supervisor Otto Lee, Susan Ellenberg, former Supervisor Barado, Dave Cortese, who is now a senator and who was on the Board of Supervisors, has also endorsed me. Rod Darridon, who served on the Board of Supervisors for 20 years, chairing the Board of Supervisors for 6 years, has also endorsed my campaign. And so the support of labor is something that I have always been honored to have. From the first time I ran for the Morgan Hill Unified School Board in 2010, they endorsed me. They endorsed me in 2014. They endorsed me in 2018, and they have endorsed me for this race as well. Why is that important? Because our working families and labor are advocates for workers, for a safe working place, for fair wages, and also for the safety net programs that our workers deserve when they are no longer workers. And so my values align with our labor allies, and I have always had their support. I'm also really excited to announce to you a few other endorsements. Dolores Huerta, amazing social justice champion, campeona, has endorsed my campaign, as has the registered nurses, CNA, RMPA. County firefighters gave me a sole endorsement, and I have also been endorsed by the San Jose firefighters. And I'm really, really proud of those endorsements.
Okay, so we're going to move into a little bit of rapid question and answering to kind of get to know you a little bit better. Okay. So first one is sunrise or sunset?
Sunrise.
What time of day are you most inspired?
Sunrise.
What is one food that you would never want to give up?
Dungeness crab.
Coffee or tea?
Tea. I'm a Colombiana, but I don't drink coffee. It's a stimulant. I'm too hyper. If I was on coffee, I'd be jumping through the roof.
What's your favorite part about being a mother?
Hugging my kids. And now that they're in college, it's when I see that little name on my phone, getting a call from them for any reason.
So thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate the time. You did great on your first live. I'm glad to be a part of this with you. Why don't you go ahead and just, provide a minute or two, however long you need, on some closing remarks.
We have an opportunity to elect to the Board of Supervisors someone who gets up every day to literally touch the people that she serves. Whether I'm helping someone who has a wound from their diabetes, or I'm helping, a teenage mom access county services, or I'm under the bridge of so many of our communities tending to the needs of our unhoused brothers and sisters. Those are everyday reminders of what county needs to focus on. And I've been knocking on doors for 13 months now. My passion is for them, for all the patients that feel that they don't have a voice. And that is what leads me every day to fight for this seat. As a Latina as well, I have maintained my language skills. I speak, read, and write Spanish. And I'm really proud of the fact that when I'm out in community, our monolingual brothers and sisters are able to communicate with me directly. I don't need a translator. And that is important to me. So I'm very grateful for this opportunity. Come out and vote. Come out and vote. We have a lot to fight for together. And I just say embrace hope. I know there's a lot of despair out there, a lot of loss, but I also think that there's also a lot of hope. Vote for the nurse. Vote for the nurse. Thank you.
So you're welcome. So the ballot should be coming right in the first week or two of May. This is for the June 7th and primaries. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely. And we are encouraging young people to register to vote as well. It's more convenient than ever. If you're a registered voter, you will get that ballot in the mail. You don't have to leave your house to cast a vote. And so I would say let's realize our full potential for hope and for addressing the suffering of our brothers and sisters. And the first step to doing that is to vote. And we have that opportunity also in South County to elect someone who lives, works, and has raised her children in our community. So I really need Gilroy, San Martin, and Morgan Hill to come out strong for me. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us today, Claudia. And we'll see you soon. You did great.
Thank you.